If you're moving to Carmel, Indiana, the thing that you'll have to end up living with, dealing with, enjoying, not enjoying on a daily basis if you leave your house is roundabouts. I've mentioned roundabouts and talked about roundabouts in Carmel, and not just in Carmel, you can find roundabouts all over the Indianapolis Metro. So nearby Fishers, Westfield, out where I live in Greenfield, you've got roundabouts all the way down to Greenwood and Brownsburg and Playfield. Everybody has roundabouts, just that Carmel has a lot of them. At the start of this video, there's 141 roundabouts in Carmel. So Carmel's got just over 100,000 people. That's about a roundabout for every 700 people or so. So that's a lot. That's a tremendously dense number of roundabouts. But while roundabouts aren't perfect, traffic in general just isn't perfect. One of the super awesome things that I love about roundabouts, and one of the positives of them, is that they just look incredibly nice. For the most part, that's a subjective thing. You can't absolutely measure that. But I'm right now standing in one of my favorite roundabouts in all of Carmel. And this area is actually super beautiful. This is all the way on the east side of Carmel. I'm on River Road and 131st Street, and River Road just continues on north of me, but this could have been an intersection, a four-way, because Prairie View Golf Course and the White River are just off to my east behind me. This could have been a four-way stop. It could have been really a two-way stop. River Road not stopping at all and coming out of Prairie View or down 131st, something like that, you're gonna have to stop. But having this roundabout here gave the ability to save what was already here, like this tree right behind me. I mean, there's no way this tree was gonna stay. This tree is super old, well beyond the age of this roundabout. And some of these trees back here behind me, it just matches the aesthetic of the entire area. And most roundabouts, while maybe not the most beautiful thing to look at, some are certainly nicer than looking at traffic lights and all the wires and the utility poles and all of that that go with it. There isn't a single utility pole around this roundabout except for just across the street. But you don't have all the wires and everything overhanging. And a subjective thing again, but I feel like those things are fairly unsightly. Having nothing around is definitely something that looks a little bit better in my opinion. But another thing, instead of just saving a natural looking area like this, is that like in Carmel, it's been a good excuse to display lots and lots of different pieces of art in those roundabouts. And that's arguable whether that's good or bad, but generally speaking, when a place looks really nice, it tends to stay really nice, and people want to keep that up. If it looks really trashy, if it looks really run down, if it looks like it's not taken care of, then generally that's probably the attitude that catches on. And if you have kids, they may not agree with you all the time with this, but if your house is fairly picked up and kept, it's easier, not always perfect, but easier to have your kids get on board. But if everything is super messy, well, they're gonna get on board with that. You can also get some of these crazy complicated roundabouts, like this huge complex behind me. It's not like each individual one is complicated, but you go from roundabout into roundabout into roundabout. So as an example, if you wanted to stay on 136th Street and go through this particular intersection, now 136th Street is actually Smoky Row, so you've got that to deal with and the name change. But then in addition to that, you have all of these other roads that connect into this. You of course have US 31, which goes right over the top of all of these things. And if you want to get on US 31 going south or on US 31 going north, you really got to watch it. And then you have Rohrer Road, you have Eglin Road. I've also heard people say Eglin Road, whatever. Illinois Street, Old Meridian, North Guilford. I mean, seriously, if you're just passing from the west to the east or east to the west on Smoky Road 136, like I said, you could end up almost anywhere. It's a little bit like playing Plinko going through this thing. And your GPS, hold on to your hats. Sometimes it's actually, a lot of times in these roundabouts, it's behind.
In 700 feet, at the roundabout, take the third exit onto West 136th Street.
So you could be going in a direction, but it looks like you need to go to the left. It just hasn't caught up yet. And if you have the voice activation, where it's telling you which exit to take, by the way, they are exits usually in roundabouts, sometimes it's an exit behind. It can get really confusing fast. So there's no wonder why these roundabouts are so plain. They don't have a lot of landscaping or artwork in them, because it might be a little bit distracting, honestly, as you're going through and trying to navigate these. With all the complications, complicated roundabouts, the easier roundabouts, honestly, they're really all not that bad. Now you can get super simple ones, like this one here at 131st Street and Gray Road. 131st Street's also Main Street. Really simple circular roundabout. Nicely landscaped, really pretty, but easy to navigate. Another one of my favorite ones at 126th Street, Gray Road. Super simple, very circular, and we've got the rock, paper, scissors, and a leaf blower. Not up here. Always something super noisy right next to me. Oop. Overall, though, the reason why they get such high remarks from a lot of people, not necessarily just navigating them every day, but insurance companies, cities, it's just that they're a lot safer. And they're safer for everybody. So they're safer for all these cars going through here because it forces everybody to slow down. If there is an accident, usually it's a little side swipe or, you know, just a little fender bender. They've statistically been shown to reduce injury accidents by at least 75% and fatal accidents by 90% or more. And then that even goes with pedestrians. So right now, I'm in downtown Carmel, actually city center. There's Matt the Miller's Tavern right behind me. Nice little fountain here right behind me as well. And a not so fancy roundabout right here. But if I'm a pedestrian, and let's say I've parked across the street and I want to go that way, the only direction I have to look is left. I don't have to look right. I don't have to look over. I don't have to look any other direction just to get across, directly across into the middle of the roundabout. Left is all I've got to look. And actually, when you are right here, like this car pulling up, there's only one direction this person has to look. They just have to look left. That's it. And so if you don't have to look across, you don't have to look right, it becomes a lot safer and a lot more predictable to get across. Plus everybody's just going so much slower, which isn't so bad. So one of the other cool things that makes a roundabout just a little bit safer is that sometimes this landscaping in the center actually blocks your view of all the oncoming cars to the other side. So it really forces you to look to the left. It's the only place you can really look for cars to be coming at you. It cuts down on some of the distractions for cars and pedestrians both. Actually, some of the super complicated roundabouts aren't always in Carmel. You can get over into Fisher's Noblesville, just off the top of my head here, where it's sort of a complex between roundabouts and stoplights. It's where I-69 kind of goes through Noblesville and Fisher's, right next to Hamilton Town Center, and Campus Parkway is the road that crosses I-69. So in that one, you've got sort of half roundabouts right into a stoplight. It makes you go across to the other side into what feels like oncoming traffic, on the opposite side of the road, but it's not really. It just actually switches directions through there. So once you get used to it, it's okay, but boy, the first time or two going through that, it can really throw you for a loop. The roundabouts here, like I said, not going to avoid in Carmel, but in other places, you can maybe avoid them a little bit more because there are fewer, but it's still something that you're not going to get completely away from. Rural intersections like this one, so if you're driving through this area, it's not exactly out in the middle of nowhere. There are houses around, there's a school nearby, and you've got I-70 just to the north of me. But it's still a county road right here, and in fact, it's the intersection of two county roads, so it is a little bit rural. At least it has that look to it by the name. But there's a roundabout being built right here. You'll see roundabouts being built all over the place for all kinds of different reasons. And the main reason really for this intersection is that everybody going north and south on this road right here, the speed limit is 45 miles an hour, but people actually go a little bit faster than that. And then if you're trying to go east-west, the road across is not directly across. It's actually offset a little bit. To go across, you have to take a little left and then a little right. And so that's kind of dangerous whenever there's a little bit of traffic and they're flying through here. So the roundabout's going to slow everybody down. It's going to prevent that T-bone collision right here that can get pretty violent and pretty bad because it's happened along this road in several intersections. So a really good example of a place where you'd never really expect to see a roundabout. So if you have questions about Carmel, the roundabouts, what location might be right for you, then make sure that you reach out any way that you know how. We'll always have your back with those questions, and we'll certainly have your back when it comes time for you to make your move to the Indy Metro. And we'll catch you in the next one.